It has to be a combination of the academic and technical staff that's informed very much by local context and local practitioners. So in Nigeria, we brought in academics who did the work as a baseline, but following that, it needs to be more than a product. And so in keeping that alive, the local teams, for example, in Savvy, will continually look at the political economy analysis baseline, if you like, to know what the big issues are. But they have to, that has to be fed by less technical stuff. So it's just life. For them, it's life, and they bring that into the way they do business. So I think that's really important. I mean, in Kaduna, when we started with Savvy, we brought in civil society to raise, so Savvy worked very much with civil society to make noise about the budget and how the budget wasn't realistic, and basically the government was putting in too much money that they couldn't explain. So civil society was very successful in getting government to back down, and for the first time, the governor cut the budget. But what that did was continue the tradition of civil society on one end making noise and government responding. And for a while, it closed the doors between civil society and government, and that was unintended. To give another example where, on the other hand, we had better understanding of the politics and the political economy in Jigawa, the governor was very committed to wanting stuff done right, particularly on contracts. And a community was helped to understand project monitoring. When they found irregularities, they engaged with people in politics, so through the State House of Assembly, they engaged media, but as a means of getting to the governor who made the decisions. And when they got there and explained their situation, this wasn't confrontation, this was about something the governor cared about, this was something the community cared about, and so action was taken on that. So that's an example of where, on one hand, we understood what needed to be done, but the means of doing it was not really supported by political economy, because had we understood that this confrontation would not work, or would work, but over time, long term would be damaging, would not have done that. So, whereas the Jigawa example shows where when you understand politics, when you understand how power works, and when you understand the key players, you can use an issue where everyone cares about to bring about development results. DFID is a big player in Nigeria. We have a lot of programs, and some of our programs have excellent skills in gathering political intelligence, being able to analyze issues, and so on. I think where we have a weakness is that some of that analysis is not always used to change the way we do business. We try to understand it to change how government does business, but not necessarily how we approach it. So some programs are better at that than others. So internally as well, for DFID, some of the findings can be tough. I mean, when you've committed to having so many children in school, as an example, and you find that you can achieve that short term by just being directly involved, whereas in long term and to sustain that effort, you need to improve the systems. The incentives are then the clash. Short term we need to show these results, but long term we understand that by just throwing money at the problem, we can solve it in the short term, but long term that will not really change the way, the lives of the poor on an ongoing basis. I mean, it's I think we've got to take the political economy analysis and understand it first ourselves and start to change the way we work. Whether there's a lot of talk now about collective action, and one of the key challenges for me is, are we actually internally organized as well to focus on the problem rather than the project? I think the fact that most of whether it's Savvy or other programs are run as projects means, rather than taking the approach and thinking about this approach as a way we do business, we simply look at it as a project, and we can tick the good things it does. Whether that then transfers into the DNA of how we do business in the organization remains a challenge. So I think we need to we need to take political economy analysis. We need to take working and thinking politically, not as a project, but as a way of doing business.